Well, as Jim always says, welcome amazing agents and investors and others from across the country. Welcome to the All the Leads Mastermind call. Today is the 9th of August, and this is call number 189. I'm Tim Yandel. I'm the CEO, and Chad is with me. Chad's founder and partner of our company, and he's going to be here to take your questions as always, and hoping that someone can offer him something we haven't heard and stump him a little bit. We've got two people in the queue already. Tom, I don't know if you're on the call or not. Are you here? Tom is our other partner. Jim is currently in Orlando at a convention, and so it's just Chad and I here today, and I don't believe Tom is with us either. Chad, anything you want to say before we get rolling?
Yeah, so I'm doing August Probate Mastery this week. It was yesterday, today, and tomorrow. And it was short notice this time because of my travel schedule. We have had a few people sign up today. So if anyone's interested in getting into Mastery, it's 4 p.m. today and tomorrow. And if you get started now, I can send you the recordings from yesterday if you want to do that. I know that a lot of people have been jumping in today, so just that. And then the win of the week last week was one of our newest subscribers, Ty, who was actually, because his county was locked out, even before he became a subscriber, he shared the story of how he went out.
Chad, you're bubbling, bud. You're bubbling a little bit. Can't hear you very well, unfortunately.
Well, Ty he was kind of forced to take what he learned from our system and implement his own, because his county was sold out. But the spot did open up, and so even before he got started with our system, being a subscriber with our system, he found some success. So Ty, I think if you're on the call, someone had emailed you and congratulated you last week, but Ty had the win of the week. And if anyone else has a success story from the week, please step up, press *6 and then 1. Let us know what you're doing that's working so well, and we can all benefit from it.
That's great. That's great. Well, we've got two people in the queue. The only thing I would add is that this is moving week for us here at the kind of home office. We have all of our support staff and all of our people who work real hard all day long to take care of your stuff, and we're moving. We are moving into a new facility beginning next week, and so we're moving over the week. We've got painters in the building right now, and we've got some walls going up and all kinds of good stuff, and so we're sweating in our old facility. Of course, we decided that it was time to move, so the air conditioner stopped working there. So we're in Florida, and I think it's 93 degrees today here. So we're all just having a real pleasant day inside the sauna of our offices. If you want to hop into the queue here, it's *6 and 1, and we will take your calls. And with that, I think we'll just go ahead and get rolling. Let's see. Number ending in 5050. You are up. Larry? Number ending in 5050. There you go. Larry? All right, well, we'll come back to you. We'll take the next one. Call your phone number ending in 9786.
Hi, this is Dawn in Southern California. How are you? Good morning.
Great. How are you?
Good, good. So we are new to your program. We haven't gotten the first list yet. I think we're getting it pretty quick. But I had a question about, you talk about using the greeting card size for the letters, correct?
Okay.
And so what do you do with the paper? What size paper? So I understand like the envelope size, but what size, how do you fold the paper, or do you use a certain type of size of paper and all that?
Well, it's just an 8.5 by 11 folded in half. That's why we use that size. It's a number 9 envelope, and it's an 8.5 by 11 sheet folded in half. That's how that works. That's basically what a greeting card size is.
And then what do you recommend? I mean, do you guys recommend if we wanted to put a pen in there or something like that?
Here's part of the problem with that, and we are. I imagine that you know that we are a full run print house, and we do short run press, and we are a Postal Service permit holder, so we kind of know the ins and outs of all this. If you put a pin in it, you're going to end up paying a package rate for it because the post office won't deliver it in a lot of markets without it fitting through a particular slot size that is thinner than a pin. So if you want to do lumpy mail, you're going to have to put either something smaller on it that would fit through that size or something. If you're going to do them in any kind of volume, pins are a problem. Now, we have several things that we can do with you, and one of the things I'd probably suggest you do is to talk to our mail team and see what they can suggest to give you some ideas about what you're doing, because we do this all day long. So that might be a good answer for you.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Alrighty, but yeah, just be careful when you put something in there, because what will happen is you'll put it in and you'll drop it in the post office, and before it gets to your customer, they'll put a postage due on it and send it out to your customer, and that's not exactly the way to make a good first impression. So you got to be careful about that kind of stuff.
Okay, great. Thank you. I appreciate it.
No problem. Okay, well, we got a pretty full queue already. All right, the next one just simply says anonymous, so I'm going to go ahead and take a shot at anonymous. You are up.
Yeah, hi. Sorry, I'm Skyping in today. My name is Jeff. This question is for Chad. Chad, I've come across a few opportunities that are being handled by private fiduciaries. Just wondered what your thoughts were on how to approach them.
Yeah, so those are definitely relationships you want to have. I would say our subscriber who's leading by revenue, he gets at least half of his deals from the fiduciary. So, I mean, it's a similar approach to the attorney. If you can just help them understand how your service is much broader than just real estate, and that you're basically going to pick up where their responsibility leaves off. So well, actually, they have the full responsibility, but you can take a lot of that off their plate. So they have all the same challenges of a personal representative, and they have probably no emotional attachment. So the biggest value point to them is expediting the process. The quicker they can clear the file and have everything done, the sooner they get paid, right? So just help them understand that you can help with all aspects of probate. It's not just a real estate call, and show them how that can benefit their business. So here's how you can close more cases in less time and know that your clients' best interests are being put first. And I would recommend a face-to-face meeting if possible, if you can. It sounds like you're in California, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so in most major metros in California, the fiduciaries actually have a trade group. So they'll typically meet once a month for like a lunch meeting or a brunch meeting. And you can pay dues to be part of the group. Even if you're not a member of the bar, you can still be part of that fiduciary group, because some fiduciaries are paralegals, some are, different people can do it, some CPAs.
Mm-hmm.
So I would encourage you to look into that group. Like, if you've already found one, get to know him or her, but also look at that group, ask them about it, ask if they can sponsor you into the group. That's how Bill's been able to make, he's probably knocking down over $1 million a year GCI, and he probably has half. What's that?
Is he up in Marin?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's a group there, and I don't know, and there's another group in Santa Clara I know of, and there's probably 30 people in that group. But if you look for, fiduciary or public administrator trade groups, you should be able to find one in your area, hopefully. What market are you in?
Santa Clara and San Mateo counties.
Okay. Yeah, there is one in Santa Clara. I'm sure there is.
Very good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All righty. Great. Next caller up is ending in 1157. 1157, you're up.
Hi, my name is Dimitri. I'm from Sacramento, California. I've been considering joining the program. I've listened to a few of your Mastermind recordings. My question is, how competitive is it here in Sacramento County? We have about 80 leads on average for probate cases, but I've been told that it's really competitive here between investors, I think. So my question is, what can I expect as a success ratio? What percentage of that? How many deals can I really close per month or per year if I really follow the program strictly? I mean, 3 mailings and following up with the phone calls. That's my question.
Are you in brokerage, investment, both? What's your strategy?
Predominantly just brokerage, but I would look into investment opportunities as well.
Okay. Even in super competitive markets, 2% is probably it's a fair average across the board for our subscribers. You'll hear people on these calls that are converting 25 to 50%, but that's not the expectation I'm trying to set. I think if you're okay with 2% conversion, that usually translates into 1,500 to 2,000% ROI. So like even with me, my median price is 117, but I have right around an 1,800% ROI on the campaign. So I spend 1,100 to make 21,000. And every time I do this math with somebody, they're always shocked at just what a actual good. If you just look at it, that the return of it, it's one of the highest returning lead sources out there. 2% sounds pretty horrible, but when you look at the numbers as a result of 2%, it usually works. And your median's what? You're probably in the mid 4s?
No, it's about 350.
Okay. So, I mean, even at, probably even at 1%, one deal a month, I mean, you're going to spend $600 to make what, $9,000 if you only do one deal. So, I mean, yes. I think any of us would trade $600 for $9,000 month in and month out for the rest of our career. So you never know. I'll say this, that if you use the system diligently, 2% is certainly achievable for most anyone. If you are going the extra mile and visiting the probate attorneys, talking to fiduciaries, going to those trade meetings, things that, like a lot of the things that are discussed on these calls, there's a cumulative effect to this, so you'll build momentum. So at 6 or 8 months, you'll start to get the come list me calls from people you've forgotten about because they got your letter, half a year ago, but they just weren't ready at the time. So you'll start to get the new business mixed with the trailing business, and it'll just pick up steam over time. And if we recommend a minimum of 3 letters and 3 phone calls to the personal representative, but you should also be supplementing your marketing by building a referral network. You should know estate planning attorneys, registered investment advisors, nursing home employees, senior moving companies, all these people that have contact with people in this phase of life. Even if a death hasn't occurred, you've got a perfect team and a service set up to help them in that transition. So if you really, if you work it to its full potential, it doesn't matter if I don't care if there's 1,500 people in your market doing this. We took a kid in downtown Manhattan, and first year in the business, he became a force of a listing agent just because he used the system and he actually did the work. So I've coached people in the most fiercely competitive markets in the country, and they've all made incredibly good. The right person makes incredibly good money. So it's more about mindset, making sure you're doing this for the right reason and believing in your offer. And the result of that is confidence. And when people meet a confident salesperson, they tend to follow their leadership, and you earn business very easily. So for me, it's not about the market or the competitiveness. It's more about the person and their mindset. And so far, I've never had anyone with the right mindset not make a really good living at this.
Got it. Any recommendations on this matter of how to stand out, let's say, from the investor competitors offering their services?
Differentiate yourself with value. So we recommend, we cross-train everybody. Like I don't believe that there should be a divide between the two parts of the industry. I think realtors and investors are complementary, and you're never going to list a house that someone is going to dump for 50 cents on the dollar, and they're never going to buy one that you're going to list. So if you join forces with the investors, so you should get to know, every investor in town. I'll introduce you to the first one. I've got a friend and he lives in Rockland, but his offices are in Sac. He's done over 1,000 flips in your market. He usually has 20 or 30 million bucks on hand, and he'll strike anytime a deal's right. So, start to get you got some heavy hitters in your market because you got money coming across, coming out of the Bay Area. There's a lot of solid investors in your market, and one of the best places to meet them is go to the trustee sales. In his office, he actually has like an FBI profile wall of everyone who works the courthouse steps. Like he knows who they are, who they're buying for, how many houses they bought. And if you can get to know those people, you'll always have cash buyers. And if you have a relationship with those cash buyers, they're less likely to throw you under the bus if they know that there's not a good chance of them buying the home. They can refer it to you, and you can pay for the next marketing campaign or something, or bring them their next deal. But I would definitely recommend, if you're not buying yourself, get to know as many cash buyers as you can. They'll just strengthen your business, especially in the next 6 to 12 months when your market has a sharp correction. You'll be in a good position to profit from that.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right. Great answer as always, Chad. Going to go back and see if Larry is available, ending in 5050. 5050. You're up. All right. I'm going to mute him again and go to the next one. Caller ending in 8224. You're up.
Hey, this is Peter from New Jersey. Chad, question for you. When you're making the calls and you have a file that has the personal representative as a female, the first one is looks like it's her number. You dial it, you don't get an answer, but you get a voicemail, and it's John. So it's not the personal representative that you're searching out for. What kind of message do you leave, or do you not leave a message?
So I believe in always leaving messages because it's a few seconds out of your career, and it might be the chance to get a call back. So don't try to say, hey, let me back up. What I would say is, hey, I'm trying to reach Lisa Jones. If you know how to get a hold of Lisa, please give me a call back and just leave your phone number. And leave it as vague as possible, just understanding that whenever Lisa or that person calls you back, they may be guarded and even abrasive because they don't know who you are or why you're calling. So just be prepared. When you leave a vague message, be prepared to disarm the person calling you back. It's not hard to do, and they're not going to be super pissed. You just have to understand that it's kind of your fault if it's awkward in the beginning. So I would, the way we gather phone numbers, typically the first number is going to be for the personal representative, and 9 times out of 10, it's their personal cell phone. But if we can't find that, we're going to go find you the next best thing. So that could be that her spouse, her brother, someone we've somehow connected the dots and a relationship was indicated, or you wouldn't have that. So they probably know how to reach her. I would just open like that. I'm trying to reach Lisa. Hey, this is Chad. I was trying to reach Lisa. This is one of the numbers that my assistant found. If you know how to get a hold of Lisa, or if you could, please have her call me at 540-555-5555 and leave something like that, and hopefully it will find its way to Lisa, and ideally she'll call you back, right?
Ideally. Okay, thank you. Now, in the event you go on to another file and you know that at least the way the number is listed, it's not the PR, it's another name, and the PR's name isn't an option on the list. Are you doing the same thing? Are you calling them and saying, hey, I'm looking for such and such?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's low cost, no cost, and it could be a potential high return. So I never hesitate to. Now, the only time, like a lot of people ask, how often should I call? And if you're calling daily or weekly, even, I wouldn't fill their inbox, or their voicemail box. But if you're calling once a month, I leave a voicemail every time for everyone.
Okay.
And even when I when I use ringless voicemail, I would drop the same voicemail to all 4 phone numbers. And the ones who 98% of them wouldn't respond, but the 2% that responded never asked me why I left them 2 messages, or it to my surprise never came up. I know they got it on their home phone and their cell phone, but it didn't seem to matter to them. We had a lot more important things to talk about. So I drop voicemails everywhere.
Cool. Thank you.
All right. Great. Larry, if you are still there, you are still unmuted. 5050. Larry, do you want to ask your question?
I didn't have a question at the moment.
Oh, okay. All right then. Thank you, sir. Glad to have you with us. Ending in 7019.
Hi, this is Sanam. I'm calling from San Diego. The question that I had was, I just recently started making these probate calls, and I've been more focused on, calling the personal reps and kind of, I've generated a good amount of leads based on those. But I guess my question is, how do I go about contacting the attorneys? Is there any specific script that I should follow, or just how do I, go about reaching them?
So we give you the list. Do you know how to download the attorney list?
Yes.
Okay. So you can download that list. You'll see the in parentheses how many files they have each month. Mm-hmm. My recommendation is, start with the ones who have the most files, which they're most likely to be the core of their business, and go visit them. So face-to-face meetings are far more effective than trying to get through the phones or email. We have virtually 100% success rate with folks who get out of the office and go meet with probate attorneys. We have about 6.5% to 7% success rate if we do it on the phone. So you're far more likely to get those relationships and have them really understand what you do if you can show up. Typically tell folks, there's no guarantees, but usually midweek, midday is the best time to do that. So during the times when it's hard to get prospects on, the personal reps on the phone, it can be the best time to meet with the attorney. So like say Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday from 1 to 3, you could be meeting with attorneys, and from 4 to 6, that's one of your best call blocks. So you can set up prospecting blocks in your calendar. I use an app called Route for Me, so Route the number 4 Me, and I think it's like $10, but you can load in. I don't know if there's a limit. You can load in a list of addresses, and it will show you the most efficient route to do all those visits. So you can just put 10 in there on a Saturday or whenever you're going to do it during one of those midday blocks. Saturday wouldn't be a good day for attorneys. That was a bad suggestion. But like one of your midday blocks, load the addresses, drop by the office. You're going to, probably meet a receptionist first. And the idea with the receptionist or the attorney is just help them understand that this is a B2B visit. So you have a business that's built specifically to pick up where they leave off. So about 75% of the responsibility and the accountability in this is going to be on the personal representative. But the personal representative oftentimes expects the attorney to do a lot more than they will. They just don't know what they don't know yet. So if you can show the attorney how your business puts their client's interests first, but also complements the firm, when they realize that you're not just a typical, real estate professional, that you're offering something really different that really does complement their business, what you'll find is usually a 5-minute conversation will turn into a 1 or 2 hour meeting. and they'll be asking you for collateral as you go out the door. So it's a good idea to have trifold brochures. We have, if you have never done one with us, you can email support or call the main line and ask for Alyssa. But we've had really good success and feedback with the trifold brochure in the attorney's office. Some people go as far as to, take a brochure holder with it already full of them. And once the appointment goes well, leave that at the front desk. And surprisingly, these attorneys are that open. Like they've never met a real estate professional that provided any real value to them. They just ended up being a babysitter for somebody who had commission breath. So when they realize who they're talking to, they're even willing to put your marketing collateral in their office, is what we found. And I've coached people in like rural markets all the way up to New York City. And it's, New York City is especially challenging because you can't get into a building unless you have a reason and you have an appointment. So we got to try some different things there, and you got to do some phone work. But in most markets, you can walk into just about any attorney's office and meet with them.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I had. That answered my questions. Thank you.
Okay. Yep.
Alrighty. Let's see. Our next one is ending in 4100. You're up. 4100.
Yes. Can you hear me?
I can hear you fine.
Okay. I'm not a member, but I'm thinking of joining, and I haven't studied your site quite enough yet, but I'm wondering the list that you get for probate. I was told that in my county, Broward in Florida, we can't get the executor. Is that true, or do you have a method of doing that?
Not true.
Yeah, not true. Go ahead, Chad.
So if we sign up for your list, you can get us the executor in Broward County.
Yeah, so we're going to give you the executor. We'll give you all the information for the deceased, the court information, like date of death, date of filing, docket number. We'll give you the full contact information for the attorney, including their phone number. And then when we get the file when we get the public data, we're actually going to add good phone numbers for the personal representative. Mm-hmm. So not only will you have their information, you're going to have more information than you would find if you went and pulled it yourself.
If I go on the site, can I see a sample of what you're going to give me, or can I take a 7-day trial or something like that?
There are some screenshots. Tim, do you remember what page that's on?
Yeah, it's on the complete system page, the main one. While you guys are talking, I will look it up.
Yeah, so if you go to alltheleads.com, and in the top menu, you'll see ATL Success System, Probate System. And I think if you click on that, not the other drop down, I think is how that works. There's some screenshots on that page.
Okay, so looking at the screenshots, my best shot, you don't offer like a sample database and see how it works. To try the program, you have to just sign up. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, we don't, because we incur costs. I mean, we have to pay a researcher too. We pay a base rate and mileage. So we have to activate a researcher to go get data. So we have a cost. So we don't really have that. We're not in a position to do a trial.
I got it. Okay, thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty, hold on one second. Got to jump back in the dashboard here. Next call is ending in 6248.
Good morning. This is Joyce, and I am hoping that you can tell me how I can get the beautiful wheel of services in the trifold that's on the Facebook page.
You can call the main number and ask for. If you call 844-532-3369 and ask for Alyssa, she'll help you design whatever you want.
Well, is that wheel available to all the members to use in their trifolds?
It is now.
It's
yep.
art.
Perfect. I will call Alyssa and ask her if I can get that.
Well, just to be clear, the design work that we do customized for you guys, so she'll help you get anything you need to get done. You just give her a buzz and she'll work through it with you. But our design work that's custom is obviously time is money, and that's what we do it for. But we'll certainly help you with whatever you need, and if there are resources that we can provide for you, we will.
Perfect. Thank you.
All righty. Next one is 1660.
Hey, gentlemen, how you doing today?
Good. I appreciate being called a gentleman. You must not know us very well.
Well, you know, everybody's got to tell a lie every now and again.
There you go.
Yeah, well, we'll see how you answer my question. But first, I have a couple interesting wins. And this ain't a monetary win. It's more of because we were talking about attorneys. I thought it was interesting. There's an attorney. I've been, doing probate pretty much my whole career. I'd never been with all the leads, and now that I am, there's so much advantages that I'm getting. But the one thing is that I always called my attorney, the one that I've been working with, and he's part of my team actually. And I said, hey, you gotta, every month I call him. He says, no, I don't got anything. Well, then when I joined all the leads, I started seeing his name popping up, and I'm like, what the heck, So I called, and I normally 90% of the time go through his legal assistant. I get him maybe 10% of the time when he wants to go for lunch or whatever, but 90% of the time I talk to legal assistants. So I called her and said, hey, what's going on here? She said, well, this one don't have real estate. This one has no cash. This one has. I said, oh, okay. So accidentally, because I was using the ISA and I just wasn't happy with the results, so I thought, well, okay, if you're not, you got to take the bull by the horn and go ahead and call. So accidentally I called those, and as I'm going back through my notes, I'm like, oh, okay. Well, yeah, he's telling me the truth. So in my mind, over having so much extra information was just benefiting, because I was second guessing my attorney saying, this guy really helped me out or not. But it everything they had been telling me was true. So I kind of went back through, the last 4 months that I thought, I think he had 5 deals, and sure enough, every one of them. So in my mind, that was kind of a big lead, because I had more information than I did before, and I was able to double check that. The other one win was that I got a call probably 3 months ago, right after a death, and they said, hey, our neighbor recommended you for the auction. We're burying our dad on Thursday. And I'm like, oh, well, you don't need to see me right now. You're still going through the grieving process. Well, all of us from out of state, there's 2 in state, and we kind of like to meet somebody before we leave. And I'm like, okay, well, when do you want to meet? And they're like, well, Friday. And I'm like, God, day after the funeral, it just didn't feel right to me. But I said, all right, I'll do it. And so I went down there, and sure enough, it just was not right. They hadn't had an executor yet, and they were kind of bickering, and I thought, all right, guys, well, I'm going to tell you what I can offer, but I'm going to move on. And so I hadn't heard nothing from them. I was trying to get a hold of who they told me the representative was, and it really wasn't working out. Well, then, boom, it pops up on all my leads. So I was like, cool. So I was able to get a hold of the representative, and they said, yes, you just hit us a bad time. And I said, I knew I did. I told the one sister, I said, this is not a good time for me to come. And so anyways, long story short, we've gone ahead and signed them up for an auction. We're doing a real estate and personal property auction. And it's taken about 3 months to get to, but they didn't have their ducks in a row. And being that I was able to follow it through y'all, it was so I could back off and then say, okay, now I can come get involved. And it even though I knew about it before y'all sent me the lead, it was just so much more information. So I even had the attorney's name and all that other. So when I got back in touch with them, I had so much more information. They were rather pleased. Not to mention they had gotten my letter already, kind of reminded them, hey, he's still thinking about us. So those are my 2 big wins.
That's awesome.
Question,
a couple things I want to say before you go. This is Lucky, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So kudos to you for having the reputation in the community to get that referral at that time, like regardless of the result of that appointment. Like the fact that the neighbor, someone in the community knew that you were the go-to, I mean, that means your flag is in the sand. And that's what we try to, for each of you guys to achieve. Like, take this market and call it yours before somebody else does. And you've got that locked down, it sounds like. So kudos to you there. Something else I want to say, thank you for sharing that. A lot of people try to put this timeline together when they first get started, and they don't really understand. But what we find across the country is it usually takes a family 2 to 3 months to get to a point where they're even ready to file probate. And some people are, are trying to get to them sooner. Like, how do we get them quicker? How do we get them quicker? And it's not about who gets there first. It's about who has a differentiating offer and gets there at the right time. And what you found was the right time to speak with them. But it's a really good example of, why we teach the system we do and it initiates with the filing of probate. Because that's the first that first mental milestone of getting in the car, pulling all these documents together, getting in the car, driving downtown, paying for parking, meeting with a stranger to figure out what the next 6 months of your life look like. Like, that takes a commitment, right? Yeah. So it's not something they just did on I got an hour for lunch, I'm just going to go do this. It's something that they had to think about and be deliberate about, and it was stressful, and they finally went. And it's kind of a hand raise to the world of, okay, we're ready to deal with this now. So that's why the system we teach it starts with, the filing of probate. But anyway, that teachable moment. I just thank you for sharing. I mean, it sounds like they really trusted you from the beginning. They just maybe didn't trust each other as much as they did you in the beginning.
Well, and I knew, and I was so apologetic. I just knew it was a bad time. But they kept saying, "Listen, we're all in town. Let's just do this." And then something else I did learn. I actually have learned a lot with this one is that. Every time I talk to the executor here lately, he's like, "Well, I've got to get the attorney to sign off, or we got to get the judge to sign off." I'm like, "No, they've already granted you power of attorney or the executorship." And he says, "Yeah." I said, "You're the only one that needs to sign this." And so then he'd call me back the next couple of days and say, "Well, nope, the judge wants all my brothers and sisters to sign this." I said, "Are you kidding me?" I said, "That's not how it works." So then I called my attorney up and says, "What's going on here?" He said, "Did he have a will?" And I said, "No." He said, "Well, there it is." He said, "There was no will before this happened, so that's why the judge is making them go through this hoops." I was also a little bit concerned because they hired an out-of-county attorney, and sometimes the attorneys out of county, they want to kind of do it how they do it in their county and not how the other counties do it, and so I thought that was causing issue. But I think more than anything, the judge knew there was family issues, and so anyways, that was kind of a big win. And the attorney thing. It's been nice knowing which attorneys are getting which estates, because like I've told you guys this before, our attorneys are very competitive in this area. I go into one attorney's office and he's calling the local auctioneer's son. I mean, there's just no way I'll ever tap into that guy's business. And so I know it's not his son.
How many of the probate files each month do not have an attorney attached to them in your market?
That's part of my question. They're twofold on that. I'm getting probably 10 out of 120, 10 to 15 out of 120.
Mm-hmm.
But since I'm making the calls now, and I'll say, "Hey, I see you don't have an attorney," they're like, "No, we do." So I'm not sure what's going on there and why it's not picking it up, number one. But number two, I've also had a couple of situations where, well, this time, two of the deceased died like more than 20 years ago. And so I called the attorney on the one. I said, what's going on here? He says, "Well," he said, "long story short, the family just never filed. And so now there's other issues happening. They're forcing them to file. For example, like they bought a property and the people they bought the property on land contract died. So now they're having to do their probate. Well, because these people died 23 years ago, they hadn't done nothing. Everybody's saying, "Hey, you need to get us caught up here so we can close out these other ones." But the one I haven't checked on, how that situation I can see, but is there another situation where the attorney just didn't file? Or, I mean, is that legal? Or how's that work?
It's legal. So it's a misconception that you have to have a probate attorney. There's nothing in the law that says an attorney is required. No, it's strongly suggested, just like divorce. You can represent yourself in divorce, but it doesn't make much sense. So some people, when they're filing probate, they haven't made a choice, or they're not ready to make a choice, or they think they can do it on their own, and that's what's known as a pro se case. So what I was first going to suggest is you take those 15 leads per month and you turn those into reasons to talk to more attorneys, or to reinforce the relationship you have with your attorney. And especially because you're in a really competitive market. I'll share an idea that I still haven't found time to produce, but you can do it on your own, and it sounds like you've got the right attorney to do this. Imagine a list that's maybe two-sided, maybe it's an Excel spreadsheet or something that's, it's like a line item checklist. And it has all the responsibilities, everything that has to be done from the date of death until the closing of probate, including the responsibilities of the personal representative, the probate clerk, the attorney, the heirs, everybody. And each party will have a different color. So the personal representative may be in black font. The attorney might be in red font. But the idea there is you can co-produce this piece with your attorney, put his name on the bottom of it, so it's branded to his firm, and then include that in the mail that you send out, or make sure it gets, you in every appointment you hand one out. The people who didn't select attorney up front, it's for probably 9 out of 10 of them, it's just a matter of time until they realize they're in over their head and they need help.
Right.
And they will have an attorney before it closes, even though they didn't have an attorney when it initially was filed and recorded. So you can use that to create some new attorney relationships, or help the guy out that you already know, and lead with value so he feels like he needs to reciprocate and get you some referrals because you've been out there working for him.
Right.
But that's usually what happens there. So what probably happened is they didn't choose an attorney. A week later, they realized quicker than most, crap, we better get an attorney. We're in over our head. Second part of your question is almost always the scenario is what you described. So somebody passed away, the family was grieving heavily. They emotionally just froze, and then just everything got comfortable and they just didn't deal with it. Usually what you'll see is when you try to refinance a home or sell a home, any time that you bring attention to title, then that's when that will trigger the retroactive probate.
Yeah, gotcha. So like if the title search came up.
Right, and I've seen them as far back as 1983 in my market. It's pretty common. I mean, I think everybody on this call, if you've been doing this for more than 6 months, I'll bet you've seen a couple of these. And it's usually because, a lot of times it'll be a husband died early. A wife was just completely grief-stricken, didn't know what to do. She didn't plan on selling the house or anything. So she just, to protect herself emotionally, she just checked out and didn't do anything with it. Handling the death was hard enough. The business side of it, she just never got to. But eventually she'll go to get a reverse mortgage, or, deed the house over to a kid, or just sell it. And then the transaction will stop in its tracks when title comes back, because his name will still be on title, even though the taxes have been, the tax bill's been coming for 20 years with his name still on it. And she just didn't, she lived with that. It's pretty common.
I guess that's when I kind of messed up. I don't know if I messed up, whatever. I've been proactive here lately because I was not, and I know when you guys sold this to me, it was about the ISAs for me, because I just didn't feel like I had the time to make calls. But now that I'm making the calls, I'm starting to discover other things. And so I had already made the phone call, and I said hello, and he answered, and we talked and kind of broke the ice. And he says, well, the only thing, son, is Mom's been dead for 22 years. And I'm like, oh, sorry. I mean, where do you go from there? It was like, so I said, I'm, do I assume the real estate's already been handled? He says, oh, yeah. He says, my daughter's been living in that house, and it's pretty much her house. And so, just didn't know where to go, but I had already opened my mouth, and so I just rolled with it and, moved on. But
all right, guys, listen, unfortunately we got 4 more people in the queue that we need to get to, so
yeah.
No, it's always you always bring interesting dimension to these calls. We appreciate it.
All right,
thanks so
thank
much,
you all.
Lucky.
Have a good day.
All right, bud. Thank you. Next one, ending in 6828.
Yes, Wade from Chattanooga.
Hey there. Go
and,
ahead.
Hey, I've been doing this, I guess, 4 months now, and sent my initial letter to everybody, but that's as far as I've gotten. I'll just fess up right now. So I'm trying to figure out what I need to do now. Obviously, if I go back and call the folks from 4 months ago, they're not going to even remember a letter. So do I just start with letter number 2 to everybody and then get really proactive in following up ASAP?
Yeah, that's probably a good place. I mean, even if you plan to send more direct mail, then send it first and then make the phone call. If you're not going to send direct mail, don't hesitate to make that phone call. Hey, this is Wade. I sent you a letter a few months ago, and I've been really busy, but I did have a chance to follow up, and I just wanted to make sure you guys were taken care of. We've got a team of people that help families in probate. Is there anything you guys could use a hand with, or what's been challenging for you? And just kind of go back. You can point back to that letter. They're not going to remember it, and it won't matter, because if they're on the phone, you don't need them to remember the letter. They've got you, right? Where alternatively, if you send another letter, then you'll kind of go with the normal, follow-up. Hey, I sent you a letter last week. Do you remember seeing it? But just a dose of encouragement here. I mean, there's a lot of business in that 4-month-old list. It's kind of coming into its prime. So the reason we spread these campaigns out is because some people sell immediately, and others take 2, 3, 4, 24 months. And that's what you'll hear me say. It's more about when you're getting information to them than it is about the information. It's being there at the right time. And that kind of lucky story really demonstrates that too.
And the value of it is obviously if you've done it then, I think we should start calling those vintage leads instead of historical leads. We'll call them vintage. They're ripening. But definitely go ahead and get your second set out to the stuff that you have there that you haven't sent anything out to. If you haven't, go ahead and get your letters out, because it makes the follow-up much easier.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
Alrighty. Caller ending in 3861. Go ahead.
Hello, this is Wayne from Houston, Texas. Been a subscriber for 6 months, and wish I could share a success story, but quite honestly, I'm having some struggles here. Just went back through all of my the history and kind of what's been happening. I've been following the program, 3 letters, 3 calls, averaging 1 appointment a month, and still looking for my first listing. So I'm not sure what else can do here. Just kind of looking for ideas. Just one thing I can share. I had an appointment yesterday. Can you hear me?
I'm having trouble hearing you there, bud. Hang on, let me see if somebody's still on and not muted. Give me a second here. All right, go ahead.
So I had an appointment yesterday. It's for a July lead, and met with the personal representative. That's actually the daughter, and her 2 sisters. Met them at the house, and they're just going through the house now. And I shared with them, what I do and why I do it, and kind of my pre-listing package and all of my team, including stagers and estate sales people and handyman and cash investors, and we discussed the different options, and I think I connected with them pretty well in person. But again, I'm still and I've got some relationships that I've developed. I do the 3 letters followed by phone calls within a week after that, and once I make connection by phone, then I will stop sending the letters, and I will just keep following up appropriately, whether phone calls or letters, once I've made that initial connection. But again, I'm just struggling here to get things rolling.
So let's talk more about your appointments. What's happening there, and like, where do you lose control? And I know it's an assumption that you do, but you're coming away without the listing. So at some point they're gaining control over the situation. Where do you think that is?
Well, with the 6 appointments that I've had, one is still trying to decide if they want to hire me or if they want to use the agent that helped them purchase the home years ago. I've got another one who claims that he can't do anything yet because he's got to wait for his uncle to kind of step out of the way, or let him as the executor sign the listing agreement and let me help them sell the properties. There's actually a couple properties there. Another one's just not returning my calls after I met him in the house, and again, I thought I connected well. They were going to let me assist them, but they're just not returning my calls now. And then a couple more just they ended up hiring another family friend that was an agent, or another, they hired somebody else, so I just lost the opportunity.
Yep. Okay, so that's helpful. For me, my goal, if I'm going on an appointment, I need to get some paper needs to be signed before I leave there, right? And I'm not necessarily, I don't always try to control the outcome, because maybe it's an offer, maybe it's a listing agreement, maybe it's just a list of names that I'm going to connect them with people because they don't need the real estate sold. But I always go to an appointment with the intent of signing, of exchanging something with who I'm meeting with. I'll say that I think you will tremendously benefit from Probate Mastery. We spend 90 minutes pulling apart the initial conversation line by line, and I show you how to spot needs. Like, basically, these people, if you ask the right questions and lead them into conversation, then they'll draw you a roadmap of exactly what you need to offer and what you need to say. And that's why we don't really script everything, because I'd rather teach you to fish than give you the fish, right? So 90% of your objections will come out when you try to set the appointment. Well, I'll back up. You can count on one hand the most common objections. And those are, we've got it dealt with, I've got to talk to X, they're finding a third party to defer to. We're just not ready yet. We got to get the house cleaned out, things like that. And the way I approach this, there's one reason I'll back off and not pressure. I'm a very low pressure salesperson. You can ask Tim. He's been making fun of me about that for a week. But when I know somebody's standing in their own way, and what I call the probate quicksand, and their situation's only worsening by the day, I'm going to grab them by the hand and pull their ass out of the quicksand. So I'm going to apply pressure where it's needed. And it's usually because you've gotten them out of their comfort zone. They haven't done this before, and they just want to get back to safety. Where if you just if you were a little more assertive in a couple situations and did some assumptive closing, like, okay, so when we get this on MLS, we want to have professional photography. So what date should the photographer be here? I've never asked for a listing in my career, and it's because of things like that. From the very, very, very first time I talk to a prospect, I'm saying we're gonna take pictures of these documents, get them over to the title company, so when it's under contract, we'll be able to close the chain of title without chasing paper. Does that make sense? Okay, great. That's on the initial conversation. So if they're not objecting to me, like, they just let me be their listing agent. And subconsciously, that's powerful. I don't have anything signed, but in my head, they didn't object to me taking the lead, and they followed. And I'll do that. So in Probate Mastery, I show you that during the initial conversation. I'll show you the things that I do to lead them into those assumptive closes. But also, kind of the last 30 minutes of session 3, I'll take you through my exact listing presentation. So from beginning to end, and the tricks that I use to, like the uncle that you're talking about. And I'm gonna put that, the accountability's on you for that. So you need to ask better questions and have contact with the uncle. He needs to be part of the conversation. And it's just a matter of asking better or more thorough questions. So if you were in contact with the uncle, then you would have more control of the situation. And if he trusted you, then you could very easily defeat that objection and say, oh, I spoke to Bill yesterday. He's ready to go. Should we meet there at 1 or 2? So just ask better questions and think about, is this objection real, or are they trying to get back into safety? And are they helping or hurting themselves by not, with their inaction? If it's a grieving, the one scenario where I pretty much always back off, if I make a couple passes at them and they're just not listening, then I'll back off and find a reason to follow up in the next few days. If it's a grieving family member that's just, you can just tell they're emotionally crushed, then I'm backing the hell off, and I'm not ever going to put pressure on a person like that, because that's just, that's not good. It's not good for anybody. It might not be good that they have a house sitting vacant with no insurance and the weeds growing up, vines growing behind the soffits, but they're not ready to deal with it. And you just have to use your own judgment on, which ones those are. They're few and far between, because, like I said earlier, probate is usually the signal flare to the world of, hey, we're dealing with this, we're moving forward. So usually people have gotten over those emotional hurdles before they make it to file. But I think that you would greatly benefit from Probate Mastery. You're doing a good job on the marketing side. There's just you need some subtle changes to give people a reason to don't give them a reason to not signing a listing agreement, I guess is a better way to put it. Take a pre-filled listing agreement, like with me, and I'll show you this trick in Mastery. Like, I have a pre-filled exclusive right to represent that's in the left side of a folder, and I intentionally stand at a countertop. I don't never sit across the table from anyone I'm trying to do business with, and I slide that folder in front of whoever I believe has the most leverage, social leverage. So that might not be the personal representative. It might be his uncle, who obviously has social leverage on the guy you mentioned. So the folder would go in front of the uncle. Even though he's not the one signing the listing, he's the one I need to pull it out of the folder and ask me where to sign. And like things, little subtle things like that can make a world of difference. Like you're 3 feet from gold, man. Like you're literally on the 1 yard line. You just need a few little, you need to put a little bit more pressure in a positive way. Just put, you need to, if you don't ASK, you don't GET. And you don't have to directly ask if you start to say things like, okay, and target date, I'm going round and round here, but target date is one of the tricks that I use. So if I can get someone, if I can say, hey, in a perfect world, when would this be closed so you could actually deposit the money into the estate's bank account? Like if you were in control of everything, what would that date be? And they may say October 1st. Okay, perfect. And that gives me a good idea of what I need to do and how much time I have to do it. So in order to get it closed by October 1st, we should be under contract by the middle of August, just to be sure. And to be under contract by the middle of August, we better get started today, because we have to get the estate sale done next weekend. And you can back them into that. And if they don't object, you can lay out this whole plan and this whole timeline, and then you can slide the listing agreement in front of them and say, okay, now we're back to here. This is the first step. Like, let's take care of this, and I'll get started.
Okay, we're going to have to cut this one. We got 4 more people in the queue, and we're already over 2 o'clock. So let's cut through the next 4. And if you want to hop on the role play call with Chad or work through Mastery, he'll be happy to work with you for sure. Great answers. Next caller is 2583.
It's Monique. I spoke to you guys last week. I just had a question. I get on the phones a lot, and I was wondering, what about AdWords and Facebook marketing? Because we have these lists, and we could create a custom audience, first of all, for Facebook to target those people, or or do an AdWords so when people search online, they can find you? Do you guys have any experience with that? Does it work? What do you think?
So we have about 95% accuracy on our phone numbers, and the nature of the mail piece we send, it pretty much gets 100% open rates. No other method of marketing can give you that kind of, open rates or view rates. However, my stance on this, if you're already good at internet marketing, then internet marketing can be a good thing for you. If you're not and you're still learning that, you're going to cost yourself money in beating the learning curve of becoming a good digital marketer when you could be on the phones, meeting with attorneys, meeting with personal reps. So it sounds like you do have some background in it and you've done it. I haven't ran the ad sets, but I have built the audiences for people. Typically with our probate data, if I match on first name, last name, zip code of the personal representative's mailing address, I can get in Facebook, I get about an 86% match rate when creating a custom audience.
With the phone numbers?
A saved audience. I'm sorry?
You didn't mention, and you didn't put the phone numbers in the audience file?
I haven't. I match on first name, last name, zip code, and I've been able to get between 85 and 86% on the tests that I've done with it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a pretty solid audience. To be able to find that many people, on one social media platform is pretty solid. Now, as far as what content or what creative is going to work, I mean, I'm a big fan of video, and the more casual, the better, honestly. You don't need good, you have a phone and a selfie stick, stand in the front yard of one of your probate listings and tell the story and say, I do this because of people like this, and here's what happened, and here's what we did, and maybe it's a case study, or maybe it's you and one of your past clients with a selfie stick telling how the story of, before they met you, while they were working with you, and after they worked with you, what it's been like. And you need to be, you need to appeal to their emotions. So you've got between 2 to 4 seconds to grab their attention on Facebook. So I would recommend a video with text fly-ins that says something like, are you the administrator of an estate? Or something like that identifies them with the video, and then they'll click the sound button and actually watch the video. Or you could do something even simpler, like make an animated video that just has a solid background and a fly-in of like, are you the administrator of an estate? Have you found out how hard this can be? Click here to find out how you can get help in Roanoke, and make it hyper local and hyper relevant, because you're only sending it to those 86% who are, for a fact that they're a personal representative. So you can be really, really targeted with it. And then click them off of that animated video onto your website with a video, that other video I talked about, with a testimonial or a case study, or even if it's just you in the front yard of a home telling the story of how you provided value in the situation. That's probably going to be the most effective thing that you can do if you do run Facebook ads.
And I'd also ask, if you start doing something like that and you get some, you got some deeper questions. This is obviously a subject and a topic that is very much needs a lot more depth than what we can talk about here in a few minutes. So feel free to send us a request, send something to support at all the leads. If we can help you, we will. We've got folks who can work with you to do that, who also have some expertise in that area, and we'll be glad to help you out.
And okay, thanks. I appreciate it. Just any words on AdWords, or same thing? Just it's like hit or miss.
So I wouldn't, in my opinion, like AdWords and banner ads are the billboards of the digital world. So if you have a $750,000 marketing budget, it's a great branding impression, but it's not marketing, it's branding. Like, unless people are there looking for it, they're probably not going to interact with it. Facebook videos, that's marketing. It's target marketing. YouTube videos. So if you go into now it's called the Google Ads platform, you can place a video ad and choose your placements, and you can go to, you can target them based on you can target them in a confusing amount of ways. but you can get your audience into Google and then target YouTube ads to them, or not necessarily YouTube ad, video ads. So you host the video on YouTube, but it can be displayed on any site that has video. And I've had really good success with that too. I've been equally successful with YouTube ads as I have been with Facebook ads.
We're going to need to cut this one, and we're going to need to take the others because we're well over our time. And definitely, if you want to talk some more about this next week, certainly call in or send something to support. We'll be glad to help you with some more. But we got 3 more people to go, and we're supposed to stop at 2. So I want, in the interest of time, let's get through these.
Okay. Thank you.
All righty. Thank you. Bye now. 4107, you're up. Thanks for waiting patiently.
Save some quick time. I'm just here to add some positive news from a client that you guys work with a lot. Jim Forsythe's actually on an attorney appointment right now. He called me this morning. You've got a gentleman who in age is up there, but his workload, and he's acting and functioning as if he was half his age. So he's through the roof elated. He structured his entire business around assisting families through probate. So again, Chad, it's a credit to you. Tim, it's a credit to you guys, and the rest of the staff is what you've been able to do. So I preach the probate mastery, please. One thing we talk about all the time is active listening and active knowledge. So increase your knowledge on the tool, and you guys will have similar success. So I just want to say thank you guys, and keep doing what you're doing.
Thanks, bud. You're the best.
Thanks, Sam.
All right. 7487. You're up.
Hi, this is Colette in Houston, and I just wanted to add a couple of things for Wayne since we're in the same market. And hopefully he's still on the line. If he's not able to build trust, then I think there's a couple of things that I do in our market, and I don't think we'll step on each other's toes because we don't get the same names on the list. So I have no problem sharing this with you and with everybody else if it'll help them. But a couple of things that we run across in the Houston area is we've got people who have long been in Houston doing probate, and they offer, they pay for everything up front, landscaping, house cleaning, everything is paid for them up front. And then, of course, they recoup it back somewhere in the transaction at the closing table. So that's pretty stiff to compete with. But one of the things that I've found is building trust with the clients when I'm talking to them is to just go ahead, Wayne, and give them something. If you got a $300,000 house and it's going to cost you $300 to pay for house cleaning to do a make-ready, give it to them for free instead of having them pay for it out of pocket. Set yourself apart from some of the other agents that they're going to be talking to. It usually runs about $1,000 to $1,200 to just market the average median home. And so if they feel like they're going to get something for free out of the transaction or they get a benefit, it really makes them feel good. It makes them feel like they're putting their trust in the right direction. Another thing that I have used from time to time, especially if I know that it's going to probably end up being an investor that buys the property, is I will put in the special provisions of our listing agreement that I will represent the seller as the seller's agent only, and that kind of gives them a little more trust. If the property's not that great and they know that it's going to be an investor that's going to end up buying it, knowing that you're not going to play both sides of the fence with them will help them build a little bit of trust in you and give you the listing. All 4 of the listings that I have this month, I've got 2 up online. I've got one that launches today and another one that launches next week, all came from my May list. So I know it works, and I highly suggest the probate mastery class. I've taken that. It's phenomenal, and I use it every day when I'm meeting with people. So that's just my 2 cents.
That's awesome, Colette. Thank you for,
that's pretty awesome,
for sharing.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, that's the epitome of leading with value, and certainly that's putting your money where your mouth is. That's brilliant. Thank you again for sharing that. That's super. We're going to take our last call for the day. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead. What did you say?
Oh, no, I just said you're welcome. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, no, that was great. Thanks so much. Last caller is 9091, Michelle.
Hi. super quick question. So let's say you have somebody that's deceased, and they only had a sole heir, their daughter, and he already put everything in power of attorney in her name, everything, bank accounts, the house, everything. Does she still have to go through probate?
The POA doesn't necessarily matter. It's how things were titled. So if there's a contractual transfer, like if you have a designated beneficiary on things like IRAs, life insurance, bank accounts, if the designated beneficiary was set up before the time of death, then no, those assets do not have to be probated. With real property, if title is held with survivorship or if it's held in joint tenancy, sometimes you have to do a petition to the court, but oftentimes that doesn't have to go through probate. It's harder to tell without more details. It's hard to tell. It sounds like they may have, they had a purpose for doing all this. They understood the ins and outs of probate. So if they did that correctly, the major assets will be outside of the probate, and it could be contained to just making sure that funeral expenses and taxes are paid and the last tax return is filed. It could be that simple.
Okay, great, because we're kind of dealing with that right now. But the property's way up north, but it's another family member, and they were saying, gosh, and they're inheriting quite a bit of money, quite a bit. And so that's what we're trying to figure out. House is free and clear, but everything, he transferred everything into her name. Yeah. And we were wondering if she had to go through probate.
But understand, I mean, this is the situation. If they did it correctly, the situation is going to be less stressful for them. But you typically will find the same motivation to sell. It's even though if they're not involved in something is being probated, that that much. Even if the house and the cars and the bank accounts and everything were structured correctly, something wasn't. That's why they had to file probate. The motivation to sell and settle this out should be almost as strong or maybe even equal to a probate situation. So, definitely still reach out and try to find ways to provide value. If you know that they're inheriting a bunch of cash or a bunch of investment accounts, a really good way to open the conversation is, suggest that they meet with your registered investment advisor to make sure that everything's being transferred correctly and that it's being allocated to meet their goals, which are probably drastically different than their parents' investment goals, right, or objectives. And just give them an opportunity. There's some value that you can give them. It doesn't cost you anything, and it puts a wealthy individual in front of your investment advisor, so they have a good reason to send you a good referral down the road, right? Mm-hmm. So find some way to open the door right now. Even if they're not going through all the stress of probate, they still need to make some decisions, and they still could benefit from some professional opinions and suggestions. So think about. Even if they have a super simple, streamlined probate, what are they going to do with the money? Should they, do they know their options? Is the sole heir also protected when she passes away? Did she learn anything from her dad, or does she still need an estate plan? Like, find ways to really show her you care and provide value. And then when it comes time to sell those things or do whatever she needs to do, you'll be the only person in the world that she'll want to talk to, right?
Right. Okay. Terrific.
Thanks, Michelle. Appreciate it. Appreciate you calling. It's always good to hear from you. Good stuff. Chadster, I think we're done here, Bubba. If you want to give the benediction speech before you do that, thanks to all of you who stayed on the call. I know this is a little bit long. We tried to cut it at 2, but tons of great information today, great questions. Really, really appreciate the callers and the feedback and all that. And Chad, if you will be good enough to give the benediction speech, fire away.
The Sullivan close.
I like to end these
calls every week. By challenging each of you. Take something you heard here, something that inspired you, an idea that you got, put it into action, and come back here next week to share your success stories. Thanks a lot, and make it a great day.
Well done. Bye.